He should have died in the dirt. That's what everyone said later. It was the kind of wound men didn't walk away from, the kind that emptied you from the inside, slow and cold, until even the buzzing flies stopped paying attention. His name was Colt Avery. Most folks in the territory just called him Avery to his face and that hired gun when he wasn't there. Some thought he was dangerous. Some thought he was useful. Nobody thought he was worth saving. Except her. The story begins on a burned stretch of land 2 days north of Bitter Ridge. The sky had turned the same color as dried blood, and smoke drifted low across the ground from the ruins of a ranch that had been raided before sunup. Colt lay on his back near a busted water trough, one hand pressed against his ribs, warm leaking under his palm. Slow, steady, deadly. He was fully awake for the first few minutes, then it started to go distant. Sound stretched. The world narrowed to a single problem. Breathing. In. Pain. Out. Wait. His horse was gone. His rifle was gone. His strength was leaving with his blood. He tried to roll to his side and couldn't. His body didn't answer. That was when he felt it. Not a hand. Not a voice. A presence. Something knelt beside him. He forced his eyes open. At first all he saw was fabric. A dark, woven shawl, hand-dyed in earth colors. Then smooth skin the color of sun-warmed cedar. Then long black hair braided back tight for travel, tied with bone and leather. Then her face. She was young, but not a girl. Calm, but not cold. Her eyes were steady, steady in a way that made the world stop shaking. Apache, he realized. He felt a flicker of old instinct, danger. Fight, but he couldn't even lift his gun. Don't, she whispered. Her voice wasn't sharp. It wasn't begging either. It was something else, almost like she was speaking to the air itself, asking it to be still. Her fingertips pressed just above his wound. Colt hissed in agony. Don't, he choked, his voice raw. Touch that. If I don't, she said quietly, you'll be dead in minutes. She didn't say it with fear. She said it like she'd already watched men die this way before. She said it like she knew exactly how much time was left inside him. Colt tried to speak again, but his breath hitched. His heart punched hard once, twice, then stumbled. He went light. Her hand slid behind his neck. Stay, she breathed, and for the first time her voice shook. Stay here, with me. Don't go into the dark yet. Her other hand pressed to his cheek, holding his face toward hers, forcing his fading eyes to stay locked on hers. Please, she whispered, and this part wasn't for herself. It wasn't even for him. It sounded like prayer. Please don't die in my arms. His vision blurred. The world went white at the edges. He heard her voice, but it sounded like it was coming from the far end of a canyon, carried on a long wind. Don't close your eyes, she said. Not yet. He closed them anyway, and the world fell away. For a long time, there was nothing. No light, no sound, no body, no pain, just weightless dark. Colt had been close to death before. He'd been shot at, thrown from horses, beaten near to useless by ranch foremen who thought paying late gave them the right to break bone. But never like this. This time, there was a pull. Something cold and quiet, like sinking under deep river water. And something else. Something warm, somewhere above him, calling him back. Not just a voice. A will. A refusal. No, you're not taken. He didn't understand it. But he felt it. And then, violently, he slammed back in himself. He woke up choking. Air rushed into his lungs like fire. His chest seized so hard it felt like it might crack. His hand shot out and grabbed instinctively, searching for anything solid to hang on to. He grabbed her. His fist knotted into her shawl. Her body jerked toward him, but she didn't pull away. She tightened her legs under her for leverage and held him up, bracing his shoulders with both arms. There, she breathed, eyes wet, relief breaking across her face like sunrise over stone. There, breathe, let hurt. That means you're here. Colt tried to speak. Couldn't. It wasn't just from the pain. It was from the shock of seeing her still there. People didn't wait with men like him. People didn't beg men like him to live. He finally managed to form words. Am I dead? Her mouth twitched, not a smile. Something softer, something tired. Not yet, she said. Her hands were red to the wrists. He blinked at that, and for a moment, he couldn't understand what he was looking at. Then he realized. It wasn't her blood. It was his. Her name was Anna. He didn't learn that until later. What he learned first was this: she wasn't passing through. She had chosen to stop for him. That alone carried weight. He hadn't saved her, hadn't protected her, hadn't earned it. She'd seen him on the ground and decided he was worth fighting for. In her world, that wasn't casual. In her world, life wasn't something to throw away. "Why?" he croaked. Anna didn't answer. Not yet. Her focus stayed on his wounds. Colt looked down. His shirt was torn open. His ribs were wrapped in something that wasn't cloth from his own clothes, soft animal hide, cut and pulled tight. The bleeding had slowed. Her hands moved quick, but not rushed. He watched her slide a small bone blade through the fabric near the bullet hole, widening it just enough to work. He watched her pack something into the wound, something dark and wet that stung cold. When he flinched, she pressed her palm to his sternum, whispering in Apache. Her tone shifted low and rhythmic, almost like a chant. The sound of it settled some of the panic in him. He swallowed hard. What is that?" he managed. "Crushed leaf," she murmured, not looking up. "For fever. Ground sage. Moss for blood." "You." His throat tightened. "You a healer?" Her jaw flexed. "In my band," she said softly, "I was. Past tense." That word sat in the air. He didn't ask yet. He didn't have to. He already knew what it meant. If she was out here alone, something had happened. Something bad. Something nobody walked away from whole. Her hands did not shake once. His did. When she finally leaned back, her breathing was shallow and uneven. Not from fear, from effort. She had done all of this without resting. Colt could feel sweat cooling on his skin, feel the way shock made his body want to tremble. He forced himself still. He didn't want her thinking he was about to break apart again. She wiped her hands on the dirt to clear the blood, then tore a strip from the edge of her own shawl and wrapped his side tighter. Only then did she answer him. "You asked why I stopped," she said quietly. Colt nodded. "I didn't," she whispered. "I was led." The way she said it made him go still. "Led by who?" he asked. She lifted her eyes. Something old lived in that gaze. Older than either of them. Older than the ranch burning behind them. Older than the whole fight between settler and native. "By the spirits that still walk this land," she said. "By the ones who haven't turned their faces from it yet." Colt stared at her. "You were dying," she added softly. "And I was told, don't let this one fall into the ground. He is not finished." He swallowed. "Who told you?" She didn't move for a moment. Then, very slowly, she brought her hand up and set it in the center of his chest, directly over his heartbeat. "Here," she said. Colt felt his breath catch. Not because of how her palm felt against him, warm, steady, sure, but because of the way she said it. Like she wasn't guessing. Like she knew. He let out a weak laugh, pain lacing through it. "You talk to hearts often?" She didn't smile. "I listen," she said. Then she whispered, almost to herself, "And I answer when they call." They couldn't stay by the ruins. Whoever burned the ranch might come back to make sure nobody survived. Colt knew that. Anna knew that. And Colt, for all his toughness, couldn't even sit up on his own. "I can ride," he muttered. Anna's eyebrow lifted. "You can't even turn." "I can ride," he growled, stubborn pride kicking through his pain. "You just got to get me on the horse and keep me tied to it." Her eyes flicked over his face. He was pale, cold, shaking even though he was trying not to. She exhaled slowly. "I'll get you on my horse," she said. "But you don't fall. If you fall, you'll rip that wound open and you'll bleed out in the dust. Do you understand me?" Colt met her eyes. She had told him not to die in her arms. He wasn't planning to make her beg twice. "I won't fall." He meant it. He just didn't know how close he'd come. Getting him onto the horse was its own battle. She half lifted, half dragged him, using a fallen beam as a brace. Colt blacked out twice and came gasping back both times to the sound of her voice, tight with strain, right against his ear. "Stay here. Stay with me. Keep your head up. Breathe. Come back. Come back. Not don't die. Come back." Every time she said it, he did. By the time she hauled herself up behind him and wrapped one arm around his torso to hold him straight, his vision was gray at the edges. He sagged back against her and felt, for the first time in a long time, something he hadn't felt since he was a boy and his mother had pulled him away from a rattlesnake. He felt protected. "You fall asleep," she murmured, "you're gone." He forced his eyes open. What's your name? There was a pause. Then, Anna. He let that sit on his tongue. He liked the way it sounded. Strong. Clean. Anna, he rasped. If I... Her arm tightened around him, sharp. Don't speak like a man who's already dead. He shut his mouth. They rode. The desert at noon is loud. Cicadas, heat shimmer, flies, the crack and spit of old dry brush. The desert at dawn is watchful. Coyotes, ground wind, carrion birds already circling. But the desert at that in-between hour, when last flame hasn't cleared from the sky, but morning hasn't yet settled, is quiet in a different way. It feels like judgment. They moved through that silence. Colt could hear the creak of leather, the slow clop of hooves, the soft rush of Anna's breath against the back of his neck. His head bobbed forward once. Anna's hand snapped up and caught his jaw, forcing his face straight again. Stay, she ordered. Colt swallowed. You always boss men like this. Only the ones who bleed on me. He let out something like a laugh. It hurt. He did it anyway. She took him to a place nobody from town would have gone. Not a cabin. Not a town doctor's shack. Not any of the line camps along the trail. She took him into a shallow canyon, narrow and hidden, where water bled out slow between layers of rock and pooled in a small, clear basin. Shade hung low there. Juniper and cottonwood bent over the water like they were praying. It was quiet. Not empty, quiet. Like the land itself had set a rule. No harm here. Anna slid off the horse first, then eased Colt down in stages, talking to him the whole time. If she got scared, she didn't show it. She didn't shake. She didn't panic. But when his boots slipped and his weight lurched and he groaned, she made a low sound, raw and quiet, like pain. Not her pain. His. That sound said more than any prayer. By the time she got him laid out by the water, Colt's face was gray and his lips had gone dry at the edges. Anna cupped water in both hands and touched it to his mouth. He flinched at first, then drank. It tasted like stone and cold. It tasted like staying alive. Why are you doing this? He whispered against her palm. She finally answered. Because I couldn't save the last one, she said, voice small and breaking for the first time. And I am not losing another soul to the dirt if I can help it. Colt looked at her. He understood now. She wasn't just helping him. She was fighting something inside herself. Something that had already taken a piece of her she would never get back. She worked through the day. She cleaned his wound again, cut away dead flesh, packed it with plants he couldn't name, whispered to herself in Apache, words steady and low like steady drum beats. When fever hit, it hit hard. Colt's whole body went rigid. His jaw clenched. Heat rolled through him like fire. He gritted his teeth and fought it alone for maybe a minute. After that minute, he couldn't. The pain was past pride. Anna slid behind him and pulled him against her chest. One arm under his shoulders, one palm laid flat over his ribs to hold the bandages tight. Her lips brushed his temple. You stay with me, she whispered. Do you hear? You're not walking into the dark. Not tonight. Not while I'm here. Colt's breath shook. Something in him broke open then. All the years of running cattle for men who'd never remember his name. All the nights sleeping with a rifle across his chest. All the times somebody bled out in the dirt and nobody said a word except to ask if they could take his boots. Nobody had ever said that to him. Stay with me. Not don't die, not hang on, not come on, cowboy. Stay. With me. He didn't realize he was crying until he felt her thumb brush the wet from his cheek. He didn't have the strength to be ashamed. Night fell slow, then fast. Canyon dark is different from open prairie dark. On the prairie, you can still see the sky. You can see where the black of land meets the blue of night. In tight rock, night sits on you, breathes on you. The coyotes started up far off, spine-prickling wails that rose and fell like women grieving. Colt's fever finally broke in the deep hours, sudden as a glass shattering. One long, brutal shudder, then his muscles went loose, and his whole body sagged around him in relief. Her forehead dropped to his shoulder. He could feel tears hit his skin, quick and hot. She let herself shake, quiet, careful, where he couldn't see her face. He pretended not to notice. That was the first mercy he ever gave her. At dawn, he woke, and for the first time since that bullet tore through him, his mind was clear. His body still hurt like hell. He felt wrung out, emptied, weak. But he was alive, truly alive. His eyes opened to warm light bouncing off canyon walls. The air smelled of damp rock and crushed sage. Somewhere above them, doves were cooing in the branches. Anna was sitting cross-legged beside him, eyes half closed, whispering in Apache under her breath. Her hands hovered just above his wound, not touching it, hovering. Colt watched, not speaking. It didn't look like superstition. It looked like focus, care, connection. When she finally opened her eyes and looked down at him, she didn't act surprised to find him awake. "Good," she said softly. "You're still here." Colt swallowed. "Yeah," he rasped. "Sorry to disappoint." That earned him the first true smile from her. Small, lopsided, real. "I would have dragged you back by your hair," she said, "if you tried to leave." He huffed a laugh, then winced at the pain. "In that case," he muttered, "I'll stay." They spoke more that morning. Not everything. Just enough. Her band was gone. Settlers. Soldiers. Doesn't matter which story you pick, the ending was the same. Her mother had died in her lap. Her little brother had bled out under her hands, shaking and afraid. She tried to hold him here, the same way she'd held Colt, but his blood left too fast. "I screamed," she admitted quietly, eyes fixed on the pool of water. "I screamed at the spirits. I screamed at the land. I screamed at the sky." Her jaw clenched. They didn't answer. Colt stared at her. Something hot rose in his throat. Not pity. Respect. After that, she continued, voice almost flat now, "I walked. I kept walking. I told myself I was done helping men who only brought death wherever they went." Her eyes slid to him. "And then I saw you." Colt held her gaze. "Lucky me," he said weakly. Anna's expression softened. "Not luck," she whispered. "Purpose." That word landed deep. Because Colt hadn't had purpose in a long time. He'd had jobs, work, movement, anger, but not purpose. And now this woman, this stranger, was telling him he wasn't done, that there was a reason his heart was still beating. It felt like being handed a future. He didn't know what to do with that. By midday, he could sit up with her help. By sundown, he could drink without trembling. By the second dawn, he could stand if she braced his arm and he leaned against her. The pain was still there. The weakness was still there. He was not healed, but he was back from the edge. And both of them knew it. That second evening, as sky glow burned gold above the canyon rim, Colt finally asked the question that had been clawing at him. "Why did you say that?" Anna looked over at him. "Say what?" He swallowed. "Back at the ranch. When you found me. You said," his voice caught, embarrassed now, cracked open in a way that felt raw. "You said, 'Please don't die in my arms.'" Anna's face changed. Not like she regretted it. Not like she was ashamed. Like she was remembering something that still hurt. "I've held too many bodies," she said simply. Warm, then cold. Her eyes shined. She blinked hard. "I decided," she whispered, "no more." Her voice shook on those last two words. "No more. Not if I can help it. Not I'll try. A promise." Colt felt something move in his chest. Not the wound. Something deeper. He hadn't known a person like her could exist. Fierce without cruelty. Soft without weakness. Broken without surrender. He couldn't remember the last time somebody fought for him like that. He couldn't remember the last time anybody asked him to live. He took a slow breath. "Anna," he said quietly, "you saved my life." She shook her head. "I kept it in place," she corrected. "Your life was already yours. It just wanted to leave." He let out a hoarse laugh. "That supposed to make me feel better?" "Yes," she said, and for some reason it did. The miracle wasn't just that Colt didn't die. The miracle was what he did next. Because healing like that, bone-deep, near-death healing, it doesn't just patch a man's skin. It rewires the inside. It changes what a man thinks he's allowed to be. Colt had always figured he'd die angry. He'd pictured himself laid out beside a trail, half buried in dust, pistol empty in his hand, jaw clenched and eyes open, alone. That was how men like him went. Fast, hard, forgettable. But not now. Now when he closed his eyes, he didn't see himself bleeding in the dirt. He saw Anna's face hovering over his, whispering back to him from across the dark. "Stay. Come back. Don't go. Please don't die in my arms." And something inside him, Something old, something he'd locked away under a pile of bad jobs and worse men, opened its eyes again. He didn't just want to live. He wanted to live for something. He looked at her, and for the first time, he knew what that something was. On the third morning, trouble found them. It always does. Colt felt it before he heard it. A shift in the air, birds going quiet. The kind of silence you only get when something mean walks into the world. Anna felt it too. Her whole body went alert in an instant. No panic, no wasted movement. Just ready. She moved to Colt's side and crouched, eyes on the canyon mouth. "Whoever it is," she murmured, "they came fast." "Riders?" Colt asked. "Yes." "How many?" "3." Colt clenched his jaw. 3 armed men against 1 half-healed cowboy and 1 exhausted healer. Not fair odds, but the West never once promised fair. "Help me up," he said. Anna turned to him, eyes narrowing. "You're not. Help me up." She stared at him for a long second. Then she nodded. That trust alone was its own miracle. He leaned on her as he got to his feet. His legs shook, but they held. His side burned, but it didn't split. He swayed, and she steady-handled his weight with practiced strength. He felt small against her for a heartbeat. Then he felt strong. Anna handed him his revolver. He blinked. "I thought I lost it," he muttered. "You did," she said. "I picked it up." "Why?" She lifted her chin slightly. "Because it's yours." The way she said it put the gun back in his hand like it was part of him, not a curse. Colt checked the chamber. 2 shots left. That'd have to be enough. Hoofbeats echoed down the canyon. Men's voices followed. "Trail ends down here. I'm telling you, somebody dragged him off. We ain't the only ones looking for bounty money." Then the horses pushed into view. 3 men. Dusty, hard-eyed, swaggering like they owned whatever they looked at. The lead rider spotted them first. "Well, I'll be damned," he drawled. "He's alive." Colt didn't bother answering. He just raised the gun. He didn't have the strength to shout warnings or trade threats. He didn't have the time to let them talk. The first man went for his rifle. Colt fired. The echo cracked through the canyon like lightning. The lead rider folded sideways and tumbled off his saddle before he even hit the ground. The other 2 grabbed for their weapons, horses jerking, shouting over each other. Colt aimed again, vision tunneling. His hand shook, not from fear, from weakness. He knew he wasn't steady. He knew if he pulled the trigger now, he might miss. And if he missed, they'd kill Anna first. That thought reached deeper into him than pain. His jaw clenched. He breathed. Anna stood at his side, not moving, not screaming, not hiding. Just there, calm, rooted, like the ground itself lent her its balance. Colt felt it. The same invisible pull he'd felt when he was dying. The same tether. "Stay. Be here. Do not fall." His hand stilled. He fired. The second rider dropped. The third rider froze, eyes wide, rifle half raised. "Put it down," Colt said. The man hesitated. Anna stepped forward, slow but certain, and fixed her gaze on the stranger like she could see straight through his skin and into the truth sitting behind his bones. "Leave," she said quietly. "Do not take one more step into this canyon. If you do, you'll not walk out." The man swallowed. Maybe he believed her. Maybe he just saw 2 bodies on the ground and didn't care to be the third. Either way, he threw his rifle down, yanked his reins, spun his horse, and bolted. Dust swallowed him. Silence returned. Colt's legs finally gave. He would have collapsed face first into the sand if Anna hadn't already moved to catch him. She dropped with him, arms wrapping around his chest from behind, lowering him slow. His breathing hitched. The world spun hard, then steadied. He coughed, spit iron taste, and forced his eyes open. Anna's face hovered over his again, hair loose now, eyes shining with something that made his throat tight. Not fear this time. Pride. "You stood," she whispered, voice trembling. "You fought. You stayed." He swallowed. "Told you I wouldn't fall." Her hand cupped his face, thumb stroking his jaw in a way that shook him worse than the bullet. "Colt Avery," she breathed, using his name for the first time like it was a sacred thing. "You were already strong when I found you. You just forgot." He shut his eyes, just for a second, not from pain, from the weight of what those words did to him. When he opened them again, her face was still there. Close, soft, honest. He found his voice. Anna, he whispered. What happens now? Her expression shifted. Gentle, serious, unwavering. Now, she said, you live. He let out a weak laugh. That's simple. Yes, she said. That hard. He understood. Living wasn't just walking out of that canyon. Living meant letting himself belong to something. Living meant not throwing himself back in a gunfire just because it felt familiar. Living meant letting someone hold him and letting himself hold him back. That was the real miracle. Not that his heart kept beating, that his heart finally had a reason to. He swallowed. And you? He asked, voice low. What happens to you now? Anna held his gaze for a long time. Then, finally, she said the words that sealed both their futures. I go where you go. It landed between them like an oath. Not weak, not needy, chosen. Colt felt his eyes burn. Something in him, hard and lonely and aching for years, cracked open for good. He reached up, slow, careful, shaking from effort, and set his hand over hers where it rested on his jaw. His voice was rough when he spoke. Then I ain't dying, he whispered. And he meant it. Not because he was too proud to fall, because for the first time in his life, somebody had asked him to stay. And because for the first time in his life, he wanted to. That night, as the canyon cooled and the first low stars opened in the dark, Anna lay awake beside him, listening to the rhythm of his breathing. Steady now, not struggling, not fading, not slipping away. Her eyes closed. Her lips moved in a whisper that wasn't quite English and wasn't quite Apache either. It was something in between. A thank you. Not to the land, not to the spirits, not even to fate, to the fact that mercy had been allowed to stand here in this broken place and win. Colt shifted in his sleep and, even unconscious, reached for her. His hand found her wrist. Held. Didn't let go. Anna exhaled. Her eyes glistened. And for the first time since the day she lost everyone she loved, she let herself believe in tomorrow. Not because death had been pushed back, but because life had stepped forward and stayed.